These are the top fundraising trends of 2025, what's working and what's not. Our team works with about 20 to 25 charities all over the country at any given time, and here's what we're seeing that's really working in 2025. We've broken it down to 6 things that we really think people should be focusing on right now. Number 1, recurring giving and pledges as the default. Here's what I mean by that. Instead of the default option to be a one-time gift or a one-off gift, given kind of a little bit of financial and stock market weirdness that we've had in the first half of the year and a little bit of uncertainty about recession this and maybe that, is to give people a lot more flexibility in paying their donations. So instead of asking for one big gift where you transfer a ton of cash at once, saying here is the amount that you can pay every single month, you can stop or decrease or increase at any time, or here's a $10,000 gift and you have 3 years to pay it off and round it into different tax years at whatever makes the most sense for you. So we kind of push this as when we're asking for money, this is the first thing that we pitch. We suggest either a monthly or a recurring or spread over a long time frame. The other big advantage that we get from this is we don't have to ask for money nearly as often. We see this mistake all the time in charities where you have 3 or 4 or 5 appeals throughout a year where someone is getting hit up, the same person from the same charity, where in the spring it's like, well, give to our this, and then there's a summer like make sure you attend our event, and then we have a gala in September, and then we get into the end of the year. Now there's an end of the year appeal. It's just tell me how much money you need and just give it all at once. There's no need for me to come back to the same person over and over. What that does is it trains the donor, when I reach out, I need money. Instead, when I reach out, I'm saying thank you, I'm sharing cool impact stories. So ideally you have one ask and then lots of recurring interactions following that where you're not having to have your hand out. It's fine to have your hand out occasionally, it's a charity, this is how it works. But for the most part, if we can have the majority of our interactions be to say thank you and to kind of train our donors that they should be excited to hear from us and we're not always asking for stuff and we're being clear about what we're asking for, it really helps. So one ask, lots and lots of interactions without an ask, and then you can go multiple years sometimes before needing to ask again and you have support the whole way. Number 2 is what we're calling AI light. So obviously AI is in the news and everything, and everyone's trying to do all this stuff with AI, and we've probably swung too far into the AI of what the tools are currently capable of. People can kind of spot when things are fake, they know they're AI generated, and people who are going all in on AI, using them for copy generation or responding to donors, it just smells fake and it feels disingenuous. So what we suggest is what we call AI light, using AI tools to help assist with human processes so that we can clearly be the person who are interacting with our donors and they don't think it's a robot on the other end. So for example, if we're generating a letter, a thank you letter to a donor, maybe have AI craft the body of it and the bulk of it, but then we as the human come back and copy edit the whole thing, add our own voice into it, make sure it's custom, make sure there's no weird AI mistakes in there. That's one good example, but across all of AI, right now, we want to have the attitude that AI is a tool to assist us, not something that's going to replace us. It's not like, oh, my job's gonna be taken over with AI, but the people who are really good at using AI and interfacing it and focusing on its strengths will be the people who replace us. So really focusing on, again, it's a tool, it's not a replacement mechanism. I like to think of it just like a computer. Like, did the computer replace the typewriter? Yes. Did it replace the typist? No. AI can kind of replace the typist, but again, it's so obvious when things are totally AI written, and we really want to have that human element. Maybe in 3, 4, 5 years that changes again as AI continues to improve, but we've seen a little bit of a plateau in some of the language models that are out right now. So focusing on use of AI, but being really careful about how we use it and making sure that we're still having that human, intentional, personalized touch with our donors, our constituents, and the people that we serve. Number 3 is community-centric fundraising. Where we really see this working is people forming sort of a tribe or using a fundraising mechanism or using the process of giving or using a shared passion over a specific nonprofit as a way to connect with each other. So instead of having, here's kind of the charity at the center, and then the charity has these kind of spokes where they have connection to all these different donors, and these donors are all kind of in their own silo here. We want to try to avoid this. These donors are not at all connected to each other. There's no sense of community. We're just having these relationships with the nonprofit. Not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, this is a totally fine way in general, but instead of doing this, we want to take those same donors and connect them to each other in as many ways as we possibly can. So we have this kind of web network. And then maybe the charity is at the center of this, but if we can have some sort of a fellowship mechanism where people can bond with other people who also support the same thing as them, we tend to be a lot more effective. So again, instead of one-to-many type communication, we have hopefully a many-to-many type communication. People are craving that human connection these days, especially with everything being online and AI and everything that we've talked about. So giving people, again, a place for fellowship is so key. It keeps them around for longer, it keeps them supporting your organization, and it's honestly more fun for everyone involved. Number 4, this is a little bit of an offshoot one, but here's what we've seen, is value-based legacy planning specifically for younger donors. When we think about legacy or bequests or giving through wills or giving through an estate, we think, oh, that's for old people. We should talk to someone when they're 85 about a planned gift, about leaving some of their estate to the charity. The average age to make a will in the US is roughly 45. It fluctuates a little bit year by year, but usually we have something like, oh, my kids are off to college, or now I have kids for the first time, or I've gotten remarried, or I'm getting married for the first time. All these big life events may encourage someone to make a will or to change their will or update their will. And we want to make sure that we're talking about it at these early ages, saying, we're not going to worry about this right now, but just making aware that the fact that we have a planned giving program. You can give through different vehicles, some that give benefits throughout life, some that give benefits at the end of life. And it's part of the conversation. We're not having to make planned gift asks necessarily. We end up not having to do that for either multiple years or lots and lots of interactions with the donor anyways. But we do talk about the fact that we have a planned giving program. We're just putting it in kind of our local zeitgeist and making sure that people understand that yes, we are an acceptor of bequests and estates. Here's how you do it. Here's how you can maximize your tax advantages. But we're having these conversations around, yes, you can give now and also in the future. You can update it at any time. We're not locking you into anything. We don't need a copy of your will. We just hope that you consider putting us in your current philanthropic portfolio and also suggesting maybe for the future as well. Number 5 is frictionless payment tech. I definitely will explain what this means, don't worry. So, used to be that you had to either write a check or give cash physically to an organization to donate. Obviously with the growth of credit cards, the popularity of that, much easier. And then of course, being able to give online, even easier still. However, if you have an online donation portal where you have kind of a funnel where you're bringing people in through your website, or maybe you know someone who's going to give and you encourage them to go on the website to give, and they have to manually type in their credit card information, that is just a little bit of friction that you will lose donations with. The best way to prevent this is to partner with services like Venmo, Google Pay, Cash App, PayPal, where those institutions can house financial information, credit cards, all of that very securely, and you can one click and make it very, very easy. The same technology is used for not so much good in the world for no cash slot machines, where you can just hit a button to put in money, and it's so easy for people to burn through their savings because they're just hitting a button. They're not actually having to pick up money and put in the system. It's so frictionless for them, they don't think about how much they're spending. We want to try to use that same psychology of let's make it super easy. If someone's decided to make a gift, before they change their mind or before they think about another charity they want to support, we want to make it really easy for them to go over the finish line, and with just a couple of clicks, they don't have to find their credit card or like, oh, I'll give later. I do intend to give to them, and they just forget. They have every intention of donating, but if they can't quickly give through Venmo, PayPal, Google Pay, Cash App, one of these services they already have on their phone or logged in on their computer, it makes it much, much more challenging. So we want to make it really, really easy and build those apps in some way into our online giving portal, both on mobile and on desktop, to allow people to use those. And we will see a maybe marginal, maybe a small increase in donations in this way. And finally, here's the last thing that is working, is focusing on retention as our North Star. Now, of course, it's great to get new donors, to make sure that we're getting new donations all the time. We're acquiring new people who have never given to us before, and many, many charities, I would go as far as to say most charities are always seeking new donors, new support, broader base of support, total volume of people giving to their program. We've seen this shift where if we just spend a little bit less time on that and a little bit more time on retaining our existing donors, the overall revenue of the program and the strength and longevity of the program goes way up. It feels counterintuitive because it's like, well, that person's already given. Why am I going to spend time on them? It's like, I know we're going back to the same people, but if you interact with them properly many, many times in between asks, it's totally appropriate to ask again year after year or across multiple years. So we see this shift towards retention, and the organizations that are focusing on retention instead of new donor acquisition are actually doing better in the long run and in the year. If we're just having a little bit of stewardship for this year, we tend to see a giving spike towards the end of the year as well. So really focusing on retention as our North Star is absolutely key. And of course, with any trends, we have what's working, but we have a few things that we've noticed that are not working and working even worse in 2025. So we're gonna give you those 4 right now. Number 1 is generic appeals. Not to say that generic appeals didn't at some point work, where it just says like, dear supporter, and it's like a form letter, and then it's got like the donation amounts at the bottom, and then like, click here to fill in your amount and mail back. Whether that's a paper version or an online version, this is so easy to generate now. It's so fast to put up. I could type into ChatGPT just the name of the charity and it'll find it online for me and make this one automatically for me. And it's so cookie cutter because it's instant to make one of these. So these super generic appeals, because they're getting more and more saturated and more charities are using them every single week and more charities being formed every single week, the market is just getting absolutely flooded with this generic approach. And people see through it as we're kind of getting the growth of giving from the millennial generation, even a little bit in Gen Z. This does not work. And having the direct, more personalized, more specific appeal being more important than ever. So we want to really avoid this. I know it feels fast and easy, just say, oh, let's give everyone the same letter and we'll give back 1% and we'll make it up in the volume. It's like, no, that's super transactional. It's not going to work in the long run. So it doesn't help keep those supporters around, and everybody can kind of see through it at this point. So avoid those generic appeals at all costs. Hey, thanks for checking out our video. If you're getting value out of this but would like something more personalized, you can book 30 minutes with one of our experts to see if you qualify for our support services. Link below in the description. Number 2 of what's not working is one-time small dollar gifts. Why is this not working? Again, not to say that this is not a loss of money by acquiring a new donor or getting a donation for the first time. It's not gonna cost you money, but the margins are getting worse and worse and worse, and here's why. The cost of acquisition is going up. So to get a first-time donor, it's more expensive than ever. Lots of people speculate that this might be just the total flood of information that we're getting. So like on your smartphone, you get ads all day long. You get on TV, on Netflix, on your computer, every screen you look at is you're just inundated with ads and information all day long. So to get people's attention being spread thinner and thinner and thinner in 2025, to get someone's attention for the first time and get them to convert to a donor, extremely difficult. So we know that it costs more money to get the same person to give the same amount than it did last year, the year before, in kind of the age of the smartphone, that it's just becoming less worth it to focus on this, and again, more worth it to focus on that retention piece. So kind of on the opposite side of the coin of that retention being so important, these one-time small dollar gifts, very transactional, and then we forget that person, is not a good strategy anymore. It's getting worse by the year, and we just want to kind of throw it out entirely, ideally. Of course, we want to get new donors, but if we're acquiring them just to have a one-time transaction and then forget about them, it's just not worth our time to try to acquire that kind of donor. Number 3 of what's not working in 2025, and I'm sure if you've run a nonprofit or you work at one now, you've felt this. It's reliance on grants and foundations, both from a federal and state and government level and also local. These people who've supported you for a long time maybe support you a little bit less than before. Maybe some of the government funding that you used to rely on, that you used to have, has definitely dried up. So we have this very difficult time now where if that was 60% of my budget and now they reduce it by 30%, that's a huge chunk of my operating budget that I used to rely on and now that I can't. The other trend that is very challenging is that grants are becoming increasingly segmented. So say there was a $100,000 grant, now it's 5 $20,000 grants, all with their own application process, and then also all with their own reporting process. So the amount of time it takes for you to get that same 100,000, not even adjusted for inflation, is way worse. So the organizations that are combating this well are slowly and intentionally shifting their reliance on grants and foundations to individual donors. Individual donors is the biggest piece of the fundraising pie in the US by far, and we just have to focus on it. So I know it's probably been a stressful year for some of you who are super grant and foundation focused. The only way to get around this is not to try harder at grants and foundations, it's to move your focus in terms of your outreach and building in fundraising volunteers, going and talking to people, forging new relationships, specifically with individuals as opposed to entities. All right, the final thing that's not working, you know we were gonna say it, is fundraising events. there was a time that fundraising events were highly effective. Again, they've gotten more and more saturated as cost of goods, cost of venues, all of these hidden costs have gone up over time. It's probably more expensive than 50 cents on the dollar. I would bet, just based on some of the data that we've gotten from our own clients, that we're pushing 55, 60, 65 cents to the dollar. So for every dollar that we raise, we're having to spend over half of it just to put on the event and build it all out. That may not be the case for all events. Maybe your event margins are really good, but we also want to look at the lost opportunity cost. So say, yes, we made money in the event. We only spent $20,000. We raised 100. You can't tell me it cost me 50 cents. It's like, right. But how many staff and volunteer hours did you put into that? What was their hourly wage? Maybe it was all volunteers to say, still, no wage, I'm still good on my costs. It's like, okay, let's go one layer further and let's talk about the opportunity cost. Had we taken those same 120 total people hours and just applied them towards major gifts or applied them towards relationship building, even just applied them towards grant making. Everybody applies for grants. I would bet that you would still come out ahead avoiding events. So as it becomes more and more challenging to put on events and more expensive, the ROI, again, you're not going to lose money, but it's just the ROI on events are getting worse and worse. And we see it with all of our top programs. Don't put on quote unquote fundraising events hardly at all or at all. What we can do instead is recognition events, donor gatherings, things where people are already giving and we keep them inexpensive and small and intimate and much more about fellowship than kind of a lavish gala or something like that. And it really does help. If you want more information on how to convert events, I think we have a whole video on that. So just click over to our YouTube channel or keyword search on our website and we can help you out. But just avoid events like the Plaid. They're getting worse by the year. All right, those are our top trends of 2025 so far. Is there anything that we missed? If there's something that you think that also should be on this list, just leave a comment below. We do read every single comment. And if you'd like additional help with your program or implementing some of these strategies, you can head over to our website, pridephilanthropy.com, and click that Let's Chat button, and you can chat directly with someone on our team. See you in the next video.